blue.
Well, I mean, the wild thing is, you look back last year, this would have been a top-of-the-table clash in APAC South, given how Fury were playing towards the end of the year and Elevate consistently throughout. And, well, we go to Oregon and we see the Monty band out to start things. And we saw it yesterday in South Asia. We thought it might have been a mistake, but look, we know something about Southeast Asia. They love the shields. They do bring it quite often, and they also bring the Ying as well.
Yeah, I mean, Ying's pick rate has absolutely skyrocketed in the last half a year. Again, so much useful utility in pocket. You've got the hard reaches as well nowadays, so a lot of versatility of what you can do with that, especially when it comes to those final executes. The Valkyrie, a very classic kind of intel ban. Nothing too surprising here, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably looking towards the Solus or the Azami to round it out. I'd imagine, there you go, the Solus coming out. Makes a lot of sense. So much information gathering potential on that defensive operator. You want to kind of limit that to IQ if you possibly can on the attack. So heading into things, it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. I mean, Oregon for the longest time has been a pretty even affair on attack and defense, but you look at this Elevate roster, these players specifically, they made a name for themselves being insanely capable defenders, and to have that start could be dangerous for Fury.
That's what I'm slightly concerned about for Fury's sake. I completely agree. Again, you know, that defensive half, you know, Oregon can be considered a more even playing field. It can be very hit or miss whether you are going to do well on that attack, but typically it still is pretty defender-sided. And again, a team like Elevate, who historically have really strong defenses on this map, it could be a little bit uncomfortable for Fury. They're going to have to bring a lot of utility here, especially with that clash on the table. I'm wondering if that's going to be used for Blue Elbow. Again, that could be quite nasty, especially when you've got that smoke behind it as well. So the wombo combo of that kind of util, that's going to be difficult for Fury to deal with. They're going to have to bring a lot of flashes here. They do have the Doka, so maybe we'll get some EMPs as well.
Well, it's also interesting. Elevate opt to ban the Monty. They bring the Clash in response, knowing full well that, I mean, one of those ways you can play around a Clash is to bring a shield of your own, set someone up behind it, use your utility where it's available. So it's going to be interesting to see. Barcode as well. I mean, he's really represented himself very well in Southeast Asia so far in the competition. Being a Pakistani player as well, that's huge. And I'm keen to see what he can do with the Clash.
Let's see what Fury are going to do with the util they've got in pocket. Speak Easy already getting the first blood though, so Dark will fall down. And again, opening pill going in favour of Elevate. So for Fury right now, no trade has come through. That's a little bit of a standstill for them, to be honest.
I think understandably so, given how Elevate are trying to get up in the face. I mean, look, like Hollis was considering sending it up, getting up onto that second floor and start clearing down, but unfortunately, the Supernova is a great gun, but when there's clearly a shield in play, it's not quite the weapon that you're looking for. You want to be able to thread the needle on those players playing behind the Clash. Right now, I mean, Elevate, again, they're still playing a very aggressive stance.
They are, like, again, the overextensions that they've had from the get-go, they have pulled back a little bit, but this is exactly what I'm talking about the wombo combo right now of this clash, of this smoke together. Granted, it's not on Blue Elbow, but it's still in this really important choke point. They have meeting control, they can get the hatch open, but they need to start working the staircase to get into that pillars and get that crossfire. Toxic Babe going out, Sparko's going to fall back just a little bit to make sure that you don't get a little bit of team damage there. And again, the timer constantly being burnt out. Fury do not have the utility to deal with that kind of setup right now.
The one player that probably would have had a decent time trying to deal with this Clash was taken out immediately in the round. So yeah, it goes from bad to worse, unfortunately, in certain situations. I would imagine we might even see Flores or the Capital coming in later rounds if this Clash becomes a bit of a stable. The drone's in, looking to get deep, and told you with that M590. And that's the power of the shield, the disruption factor. BG Man might have been going for that fight, but he's always got this big Clash in the corner of his eye distracting him.
Yeah, again, it's just such a nasty setup. You've got that clash, and again, it's clear glass. That means that told you to just go on a little bit of a field day, go for these swings with the shotgun. It looks like Fury are going to try and go a bit more direct, just completely avoid that setup. They have droned it out. They've seen that they can maybe go for that hatch drop and try and get themselves a pick in pillars, but O being the right word here, they are just trying to go for it. The flashes are coming out. It's going to push Barcode back a little bit, but Ape's going to collect himself a nice little freebie onto I-9, and Lycodes falls down as well. And poor Crit left now in a 1 versus 4. They do take down Tolji, but there we have it. The trade comes through. Gorgeous stuff there from Elevate. A really dominant first round.
He copped the 362. The Clash Flash comes through, and look, that's probably one of the most demoralizing ways I think you could lose a round. It did its job. That's exactly what Elevate wanted.
Yeah.
And Fury just feed into the setup. They give everything over. The one operator that could have been the difference maker died immediately.
That's it, like those nades could have been so important just to clear out that setup because they had nothing else. You know, they had the smokes, maybe some flashes. The flashes came maybe too late. I'm wondering if they maybe tried to use those flashes to at least then time that with some hyper aggression, maybe jumping into Harry Potter and getting a kill from the behind. But again, you still have to be mindful of those crossfires from Blue and Frieza, which at that point you still haven't cleared. It was a very one-dimensional approach there by Fury, and I think they got punished for it because they tunneled too much on that setup on the staircase.
Well, this time around, it's not the issue. They've opted, obviously, going into the second floor, giving them one debate. No one even got on to the basement floor. That's the wild thing. No one from Fury touched that basement level. Well, I mean, technically yes, but it was a corpse by that stage, so much of a muchness. Second floor, it's going to be a little bit easier, but once again, Barcode is bringing the Clash, which I would imagine is going to just be hovering around the site. You can play it over towards Pit, you can play it top Armory. It's just the versatility of this operator. They've even got the extension into the walk-in wardrobe. Elevate are just playing the game they want to.
Again, when you're doing things like that, it's these very high progressive setups. I was wondering if they were going to try and leave a bit of a gap in Attic. Maybe we'll see that as the round goes on. I'm not sure if there's a reinforcement there. I can't quite tell. But for now, they are bringing the Flores on the side of Fury. So I think that's a decent, you know, retaliation to be like, okay, actually we do need more things to give us clearance, right? We need something in pocket to just cause a little bit more of a ruckus if we are going against these heavy setups where two players and the utility they're bringing, we just can't get through.
It's already feeling like Fury are a little bit flustered. Things just not quite as synchronous as I think they would like. Barcode is just sitting there. He's happy as Larry to just take shots to the shield and feed that information through to the team. Again, it's just more time being wasted. Fury just being stymied every single step of this journey. The Azami there, the Clash, everything in play, but the nade finally finds some traction. This is what could have started off round one. Unfortunately, Duck was dead by this stage.
The important thing to remember too is when it comes to that clash, it's not just about the effect that it will have on the players approaching, it's a constant feed of information that Barcode is giving them. And again, the information that perhaps Fury themselves do not have. In terms of the way that the drone eco is going, they're not really using that many of them, and I think that would really benefit them right now. Granted, they do have the Rotora drone, so that's going to not only give them information, but clear some of this util. So they have managed to gain a little bit more control. Trophy is pretty much free for the taking now, and with that pick on Speakeasy, it's certainly going to lighten the load.
But this is where the Clash turns into a bit of a problem. Yeah, it's great when you've got full 5 members up, but once you're at a player disadvantage, it just becomes a shield with the player unable to get into a gunfight. Barcode turns that on its head, but will be traded out by Crit J. BG there, Matt, is going to be able to close out and find the final kill on the Tolji. But it's that numbers game. If you have the numbers, Clash is phenomenal. If you are lacking in the numbers, unfortunately, it's just a moving wall.
And that's a really good point too. Yeah, it's just moving if you are by yourself. If you're in like a 1vx or 2vx and you've got the Clash, clunky utility. Granted, you know, we did see a beautiful pick come through, but that was shut down almost immediately. The trades came through very, very quickly by Fury. And again, I think they dealt with that well. You know, they didn't panic. They took their time. They were like, okay, we'll clear this util. There's a heavy setup here. There's the Kiba barriers. There's shields to deal with. There's, of course, the Clash. But they just sent out those Rotora drones, dealt with it, moved through the steps nice and easily. There was, I think what would have been nice from Elevate there is if they did go for a flank underneath, because very quickly we saw, you know, they got that trophy and there was no pressure then from Armory, no one coming up underneath. I think sometimes having that extension to these holes can be a little bit nicer. We are seeing the cap can come out for Blue Panda.
Yeah, and the pivot finally off the Clash as well. The fact that you look at Barcode, 2 rounds played, as Clash, he's got to kill each round. And now he's freed up. He's on the Jaeger. He's got a gun. He can actually shoot back. And I almost wonder if Fury might have been happier with him staying on the Clash.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
I think it really depends again on where they're gonna get Barcode to play. At the moment, we see him lurking at the bottom of white, so maybe again this extension towards small tower, putting a bit of pressure there in case Fury decides to take that approach. And again, maybe in that late round, we'll see a flank from below. That could have benefited them last time. Maybe they've read into that themselves. I think for now, again, quite before the storm, they just want to once again clear this utility, but this time the keeper barriers aren't set up. It's a speakeasy lurking around that trophy area. Most likely is going to be bobbing in and out.
Not quite the hyper-aggression that we've seen the last couple of rounds. So Elevate, a nice change of pace. It is a great showcase of just what they're capable of, going for that hyper-aggression in the opening 2 rounds to then playing a little bit more passively, a little bit more off the back foot, just waiting for Fury to come with them. You look at the utility that's in play. There's so much that Fury will have to clear out, on top of the fact that there's a captain, so they're going to have to constantly be checking their doorways and windows as well. So this is just as dangerous a push, but one that's less up in their face.
Again, I think Fury have definitely by now clocked on the fact there's Capcan traps lurking around, EDDs on every corner. Perhaps you need to be really careful. I think they're going to get rid of them probably quite quickly. Again, I would assume there's one probably on the trophy door for that final collapse if they do decide to pressure that more. But there we go, I9 taking out Ape. So that's a Capcan gone. That's potentially a C4 missing as well now. The only C4 actually that Elevate had for this round, so they really have to win their ones if they want to work this plant denial. They have to prevent that collapse from coming through.
Lizgarpa early is a bit rough. He's been a stand-up player for this new era Elevate. Oh, Dark is on the hunt, looking for Barcode, but it's a fairly even trade across the board. The difference being that there are nades in the pocket. Barcode just trying to get himself away. Dark has no idea where Barcode has gone to. They were very sneaky escape for the moment. But it's that late round pinch that you were talking about, Grace. That could spell disaster. In a game where headshots are the difference maker, the fact that Barcode is still alive could upset everything.
Yeah, and the barrier on Trophy Door has been reset as well, so that's more utility that may have to be wasted as time goes on. However, Dark coming up to the top of Armory now. Maybe they can use that clone to deal with it. I believe that's may have what's been happening. Nade's being prepped. This is where the collapse is coming through. They're just going to go a bit more direct potentially. But again, it's risky. What information do you have? One drone out. What information is that giving you? Speakeasy, beautiful pick there.
Oh,
the trades come through. A flurry of kills by Fury themselves. They don't need the information, Blue Panda.
I genuinely do not know how he won that fight in the pit. There were 2 of them there. Kills the first guy, ducks back behind the door, goes back in, commits to the fight, and they pull out magnificent stuff from Fury there on that attack. A round that realistically they probably had no right to win given the setup. Elevate still had so much left in play, but mechanically, Fury outclassed Elevate in the 3rd round to put themselves in the lead. And I mean, Fury has been this team for the longest time where it has been a case of min-maxing. Either they're dropping maps to teams they should be, or they are swinging against the big dogs where they have no right to win. And right now, I think it's the latter.
Yeah. 100%. And again, you know, we did speak about this earlier. Devil dogs watching right now are probably like, oh dear, oh no, please. Again, Fury taking that lead, it really puts pressure on how that table may end up shuffling around. So I think it will be an interesting one.
Arpe, misjudgment there. Cracked ankle. It's going to be a bit rough going into the remainder. And it might seem insignificant to some watching at home. It's not that much health, but that much health could be the difference maker in a gunfight later down the line that costs the round.
Locate and defuse the bomb.
That's a good point. That's a good point, potentially. You know, I like the fact that Elevate are relying on the frost mats for the basement hold. Again, that could be something that catches people off guard, those trap operators. The Clash as well, the Clash and Smoke, but rightfully so. Fury look like they're going to take a completely different approach this time. They really struggled with that setup on the tower stairs, so I wouldn't be too surprised if they start pressuring more towards kind of the laundry freezer take instead. We'll see as time goes on. I think they really need to have that mid-round shot call come through if they do struggle with it again.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have pivoted like Colas onto that Zofia as well, so they at least have some other option to try and deal with the shield. But you can just see, Elevate aren't wanting to wait this time around. They've pivoted back again from that passive play style we saw in the third round. It didn't work. They lost the round. Now they're going back on the aggressive front. They want to be the ones up in the face of Fury, dictating the pace of these fights.
Right before the storm now. Again, Fury not really getting too much leeway. They have managed to get meeting control. I think by proxy they can maybe safely assume they can get a majority of tower, but oh dear lord, this is a bit interesting. Barcode flanking around Zulu on that clash. Potentially Fury none the wiser. This could be quite nasty. Speakeasy opening a longer line of sight, wasting a C4 though in order to do so. Again, Fury may be feeling a little bit Jimmy rustled right now after hearing that audio cue blow Panda.
I mean, to be fair, making noise can be just as impactful in this game as actually going for kills. All of a sudden, there's an explosion and a hole in the wall of meeting. Now you've kind of got to commit to figuring out why the heck that happened, because all of a sudden a late round pinch could shut down your play. So they do have to investigate, they do have to get some security, which means setting up flank drones, which is all time that could be used executing onto the site, because unfortunately losing out in these situations is just not on. I mean, especially losing this round as well. That's the last thing you want, to let Elevate have that avenue back into contesting this. And the fact that we're still 45 seconds away to the round ending, and there's still 10 players alive in the lobby, Grace, this is about to be chaos.
Oh, there goes a nade. Barcode escaping with their life for now, though.
Oh!
That does indeed cause some damage, where it causes a ruckus, pushes them back a little bit. The flashes come out. Utility dump on both sides as I9 falls down. Speakeasy, a second one there onto crit as well. Fury getting torn apart just a little bit. Again, the Vulcan's coming through. Elevate goes massive. Goodness me, Blue. That was a kind of blink and you'll miss it moment. They tried to go for that collapse and it just wasn't working.
I do. I have to admit, I do sometimes find it ironic that his name is Healthcare. Like, yeah, it's been abbreviated to HCOG, but Healthcare, the man just lobotomized 2 people with a vector. He's just, look, that play was magnificent. The guy tucked himself into the corner, knew the push was coming. It looked like for a moment that Fury had broken this hold in towards Boiler and they were going to be able to push on towards the site, but then all of a sudden, Healthcare OG, HCOG himself, steps out into the double, finds 2, and the one player remaining stuck out towards bunker has to push through a smoke and just gets fried for his efforts. It can be such a war of attrition here on Oregon. It can be such a brutal game as an attacker where you have to just constantly slog and bash your head against the wall, trying to make your way an inch even into the building through these defenders.
I think especially because, again, like, they had the right idea of being like, okay, we'll send the nade this time to deal with that clash, right? They were like, and they did take a significant chunk of damage, but this is a problem sometimes when you have those Vulcans. They're utilized so much for pushing off that final collapse, and when you are using nade utility, sometimes that can work both ways. You know, you send the nade, you try and give yourself that breathing room. By the time you've realized, okay, it's go time, we need to go, all they have to do is pop a Vulcan, fire across the floor, and then they're holding their crossfires. In the chaos, you forget, okay, I actually have to take these gunfights. It just stacks up, you know?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, it's these little increments that all of a sudden become this overwhelming force that you're trying to make sense of it. You're trying to find some understanding, find some opening to utilize, and it just doesn't work. So, I mean, you could have the most excellent execute onto a site, but if you're not winning your gunfights, it doesn't matter. You could have all the strategies in the world in the defense, but if you're not winning your gunfights, it doesn't matter. And unfortunately, there is sometimes nothing that you can do about the gunfight that is coming your way. Like we saw in that last round, there was milliseconds of reaction time because Healthcare was already guns up, ready to go, and he found 2 for it. So, I mean, it's one of those things that impresses me the most. Looking at, you know, the higher level competitive Rainbow6 Siege, you see rounds that would see rounds that would make your average gamer rage quit, uninstall the game, and throw their PC out the window. But these guys don't have that option. They've got to keep going because there's a championship on the line.
This is it. That's the main thing, right? Eyes on the prize. I think maybe a bit more adaptation, though, again, if you are aware that they're setting up. Because this is a thing, right? Elevate setups are very heavily focused on the kind of tower blue tape take maybe a bit of meeting control as well, of course. And that's why they had that extended roam as well. That's why they were willing to be a bit cheeky, send the clash up to Zulu, have the Warden use a C4 to put pressure on meeting. I'm wondering what would have happened if maybe Fury went for a bit more of a slower approach from kind of small tower. They decided to go all the way through, take kitchen control, get that CCTV hatch open, start pushing through freezer. Again, granted, you know, you need the utility to do that, but I think the utility setups they were bringing, you know, you've got smokes in pocket. You can easily cut off some of those lines of sight if you are going to try and do a freezer take. So I think just maybe sometimes looking at the util they have and adapting thusly would probably be the right thing in their favor. Maybe in the mid round, some chaos is kind of impacting their shot calling. I'm not sure.
It almost feels a bit linear, honestly, looking at Fury's approach to the bomb site, because like you said, they came the same way every single time they approached the basement there. No real attempt to even, you know, work something out towards E-Box. No E-Box dropped attempt, no laundry attempt, no freezer attempt. I mean, yes, look, there was a clash roaming around being an absolute nuisance, but it wasn't even considered. I didn't see a single drone over towards that freezer site. In fact, there was not a single player even sort of just trying to figure out if there was presence over towards freezer. And I can understand, yeah, they had the feet holes, everything. But yeah, they sort of backed themselves into a corner and then are forced to have to commit to the play, it feels like.
And it's that thing really, isn't it, when you're forced to commit because you haven't got enough leeway. I think, again, the previous rounds, one thing they struggled on, in my opinion, was the, you know, intel. The drone eco was a little bit squiffy at times. So I think that maybe that's where Fury can certainly have...
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds left.
Of course, I forgot to click something. We are back. Sorry, I had it muted. All that hype, Grace. We're into it. It's round 5, kitchen meeting. That's all they need to know.
Kitchen meeting, the most preferred, in my opinion, of the kitchen sites. Again, way more map control the attackers have to gain before getting up close and personal to you. So it gives you that little bit of padding, a little bit of a safety net here as well. Looks like Fury are being sensible too, making sure that they potentially will go for that top floor clear. Again, you've got to be really careful, especially on that vertical. The main way that defenders will hold on to this site is by holding that attic, is by holding up in bunks as well. So if you do try and go for a collapse, they can just use that verticality against you. They can open up those floorboards and rain hell.
Yeah, like it's one of those things that has become evident with the site. If you are not clearing out on the second floor, if you're not getting the vert control, you might as well just give them the round win straight away. You might as well just sit and spawn, wait for the clock to tick out, because there's just so many advantageous positions that you can play. You can already see Barcode tucked into that corner. They've got the Kiva barricades as well. Elevate are looking to get aggressive, but the fact that Crit J, he snuck his way in here, I don't think they are aware that he's in this position. He might spot the legs. He's going to spot the info. Ooh. Big damage onto Barcode, but not enough for the kill. He's just worked his way back into Armory. HCOG there as well. Pistol out. And unfortunately, it is the crossfire of doom. Crit J had the opportunity. Unfortunately, it falls.
It falls too, though. Since the castle gone, of course, that utility will still be set up, but it means there's no shotty if they do need any mid-round or late-round interior design adaptations, shall I say. Ready again, they're applying this pressure to the rear stage, but do they have that attic control? That is the main thing here. You really need that attic control. It looks like actually maybe the hatch is reinforced. That might be a slight oversight for the side of Elevate, though, because again, they could really utilize that angle for this stage execute.
The one saving grace, of course, Speakeasy does have that impact. He almost played his life there. So they at least have that to deal with these Talon shields that BG Man is trying to position. Or that could be a very unfortunate death. But no, not the kill through the drone hole that happens once a season. There's just so much that needs to go right here for Fury once again. They're hedging their bets here. Impacts are all gone. HCOG for Speakeasy. What a shot. Does take down Dark and the ensuing chaos here. Oh, ankle spotted, but it's just too deep into Kitchen Grace. It's all coming apart here. Neither team really finding the traction that they want.
No, Speakeasy is going to take down I9 though, so Sariana taken clean off the board. No more information. Another one down to Nicholas as well. BG desperately looking for a head. There we go. He finds it. Toti and Speakeasy. Can they shut him down, or will he isolate into these 1 versus 1s? can grab the
Please.
diffuser, but as you just heard, 15 seconds. They're going to try and tuck themselves around this corner. The OC shield goes up. It's going to give an additional little barrier there for safety. They really have to stick the plant now. This is the awkward moment, right? The timer is ticking. If they suddenly rush, they can just shut him down, and there we have it. He comes off the plant. Unfortunate, the timing there. Woo!
Too much waffling. Too much waffling. Should have got the diffuser down. Maybe would have been an opportunity, but hello, that was not a clean round. Despite, I mean, look, it was cleaner for Elevate. Let's put it that way. It was cleaner for Elevate than it was for Fury. Speakeasy just held meeting like an absolute demon. Was just hitting the deck, prone, standing back up again, finding every single kill that he could. He almost found a couple through that drone hole as well. But Fury, yeah, it was just a case of, I mean, they again, sort of telegraphed to push on a stage, knew they couldn't commit. There was no utility to neither push on a stage, but they'd already committed for the push in the kitchen, having pivoted midway through the round. Unfortunately, it was kind of what sealed their fate.
I think the main thing for me is, again, the fact that Fury weren't able to capitalize on the fact that the setup in Attic was actually benefiting them. Again, they only had to deal with the player that was in meeting. Certainly they had the utility to do so. Maybe they didn't have the exact information, which is again why they need to get a bit more thrifty with how they're utilizing their drones here. If they get that information, they can go for these swings, they can go for these pinches together. Again, you've got rear stage open, you've even got green if you want to start applying pressure there. You can go for these pinches, you can even push into kitchen, and then you're really rustling the jimmies.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some rustling done here by Fury. Because again, Barcode, final round of the half, they're back up to dorms, they've got the clash into play once again. It's one of those things. Oh, okay, there we go. Dark actually did pivot onto the Finker, and they've brought the Capital, so they are making those adjustments finally. Hopefully, for Fury, it pays off.
The fact that Elevate are using these mute jammers just to, again, deny the information. Fury actually trying to get a little bit more of an idea of what the setup is looking like. I think they've definitely seen Barcode on the Clash by now, so again, probably preparing themselves if that is something they're going to have to do. But look, BG is on the Capital. Crit is going to take down HCOG. Being taken clean from the server. And again, look at the aggression here. Look how they're taking down Ape. Speakeasy is down and finished off 2 by Crit. A 2 versus 4 now as we see the kills continue to come through. Barcode another one down to Dark. But again, you're in a 1v3 with that Clash utility. Not a lot you can do when I9 is just going to spray towards your face like that.
Very similar to the last time Fury won Storms. I don't know how. Because Dark almost execution style shot Crit J in the back of the head.
Yeah.
I mean, a millimeter higher, that probably would have just thrown that push into the bin. But somehow, Fury make it work. They do. They absolutely collapse onto the site. They blow Elevated their positions. And we go into the half at a 3-3, Grace. Oh, look, I'm impressed, to say the least, that Fury have made so much success out of the chaos. But now they need to find that same success in the defense, which, look, I don't know, possibly.
I mean, I like their setup. You know, they're going for that intel denial, the full intel denial as well. They are bringing that Mozzie. They've got the mute as well. And then, of course, the classics that you do see on basement now. You've got the smoke. You've got the Vulcans on that Goyo as well. Dark on the Jaeger. Of course, the ADS is to protect that shield on blue. Very standard setup from Fury, but I think this might actually benefit them in some way because, again, if you go a bit more standard, but you're focusing on that information denial, maybe you can go for some moments of timed aggression. Maybe you can go for these flanks. Maybe you can go for these roams.
Yeah, look, I want to see Fury match the aggression that Elevate were bringing on the defense. They've got the info denial. They can play those cheeky positions. But, Grace, would you believe? Would you believe what Elevate are trying to do? Barcode is pivoted from one shield operator to one of the two now available with Monty being banned out. It was this or the Fuse. And the Blitz, I think, probably has a little bit more benefit in a basement attack than a Fuse does at the moment. But, I mean, that is a risky gamble. A Blitz push into, I'm assuming, will either be elbow or big tower stairs, knowing that this is smoke in play.
It's looking like it might be, yeah, it's looking like it might be blue. Which means BG certainly has their work cut out for them. Again, those toxic babes. And the Vulcans as well. Don't forget the Vulcans. That's a lot of utility to prevent this push into blue. Looks like Speakeasy is looking for the opening engagement though. I love how direct they're deciding to go here. This is, again, we need this util to clear some of this pressure. That's why, again, Flores can be so useful when it comes to Oregon, when it comes to these setups on those choke points.
Whoa, that Rotero did not pop because of the mute jammer. That's big. That is very big. Because, look, BG Man can still hold elbow, he can still play. And there's only the one Rotero left remaining to HCOG. So they haven't dealt with the utility here in elbow that they needed to. Like you were just breaking down, Grace. It's still there. It's still in play for Fury. So all of a sudden, what could have been that bum rush play through elbow led by Barcode is probably not going to happen. Because if it does, BG Man is just going to be waiting there to kneecap him.
This pressure is being applied now, though. The flashes, that's going to force them all the way back into side. That reinforcement is going to go up. Oh my goodness me, caught off guard. And another one caught off guard too. Speakeasy goes massive. Barco taking out I9. And goodness gracious me, Fury's defenses just fell apart instantaneously.
Did he just try to Monty drop shot with the blitz? Okay, justifiable. That was deserved on the part of Barcode. No way that he went for that. Well, he found 3 kills still, which is absolutely mind-boggling. Crit J now in Freezer has to play in the post. I don't know how it's come together, and HCOG is just going to clean rip his face apart, Grace. Like, we pivoted off the player. We pivoted back to the player at elbow. All of a sudden, Barcode and Speakeasy were deep on him.
I respect it. I was thinking for a while, I was like, you know what, this kind of setup that they're bringing this, you know, they had the thinker, they had the blitz, and it's this idea of, okay, we expect something sudden and aggressive and punchy. As soon as the pin dropped, they just went for it. And, you know, as you say, you know, getting caught off guard, you know, you've had that reinforcement happening behind you. So you're like, okay, maybe it's time for me to just be a bit more aggressive, have a bit more of like a kind of martyr's death, so to speak. You do see teams do this kind of strategy a lot. But by the time they'd flooded onto him, they take him out. The reinforcement stops because you're trying to be like, oh, I can defend
looking to pivot his position because he was pulling the shield down. Like, if you want a more perfect example of siege timing, you could not find it.
100%. It's just either gross is how I could describe that. Gross.
Oh, those are the moments, like I said, the ones that we want to just, you know, quit, rage quit, uninstall, PC out the window. 100%, that was one of those moments. And I would imagine that BG Man showed an immense amount of restraint as soon as he died, because there could have been a fist through the monitor as a result of that. But look, it's only a single round. They are not down by a huge margin. They head up to dorms. They're going to pivot. They can bring the alibi, the Azami, and of course the man with the moustache, Warden. So that, again, a lot of this indicating that there is some level of aggression in Fury's defense.
I don't know where Ape was going to go, because again, you've got those extra set of frag grenades. You do have the Nook utility too. It looks like they're just going for that kind of ground floor clear. I'm wondering if they are aware of I9's presence. At the moment, not yet. Ooh, oh, gorgeous shot there. Crit coming through Zulu. Like a thunder through the sky.
That was brutal. Poor Arpe, he's really struggling at the moment. 0-3 after the rehost. The thing that blows my mind is Barcode. Down 3 that basement push. So he's 6-3, having played a blitz. That's sometimes this game just baffles me. It's astounding. But Dark, look at him. He's tucked in behind the couch, still alive, but only just. A hope, a prayer, and a magazine. And well, Caster's Curse at its finest. Speakeasy lands a perfect nade at his feet.
Again, this is the thing with these kind of setups. You need to be using those and be mindful of the fact that Elevate will utilize them against you. Also, pressure from Trophy coming in now. Wondering if BG will go massive. Of course, I9 holding that additional angle. A lot of pressure being maintained by Fury right now.
Well, I mean, Grace, you did say it in the break. You wanted to see these teams come in swinging with a bit of aggression after the rehost, and they've done just that. HCOG finds BG Man. Speakeasy, they're cutting deep as well. Some heavy aggressive hitters on the attack so far. That's Crit J and Lycolis. Lycolis absolutely slams Barcode outside the dorm's double window. The 2 versus 3, I mean, this is doable. 59 seconds, Crit J found top white. Speakeasy again, multi-kill on the board. Lycola's having to hold here. Has denied the plant at the very least, but he's got to find 2 more. Grace, he's got to find some big kills. H-Cog down. Unfortunately for him, Speakeasy hot on his heels. The 4-piece to bring it back. And that could have been disastrous for this Elevate attack.
That's so upsetting. A really major mispositioning at the end there that just allowed Speakeasy to have that lineup and collect his one. Really unfortunate. Again, I think Fury could have easily won that round. It's interesting because Elevate are moving closer and closer towards that match point, and again, the almost chaos aspect of these last 2 rounds, I expect that's something that is going to continue. Fury have called that timeout, but realistically, you know, what are you going to do in this situation if they're attacking with such unpredictability?
And that's it. And look, it sort of all just stems from that initial barcode push through elbow. It feels like everything is just fallen apart for Fury off the back of that. The momentum's there for Elevate. They're looking to stop through. Lycolis, look, it was a magnificent attempt at the clutch, but unfortunately didn't anticipate the player jumping in pit after Lycolis goes down. No, sorry, not Lycolis. Healthcare goes down. Lycolis did ultimately go down, but much of a muchness. With Elevate, though, having found this momentum, having found this traction, I mean, Speakeasy's playing some... him and Barcode, actually.
Oh, it's
playing
gross.
some insane Siege
So
today.
gross.
It is. It's insane.
And that's the thing, you want these players, and you expect these players, to be honest, to be landing shots like that, to be giving that, you know, breathing room. How many times, you know, historically have we seen Speakeasy do nasty, nasty things? The answer is many times, indeed. Speaking of times, time to go back down to basement. This time I'm wondering if Fury can maybe hold on a little bit longer and be a bit more mindful of these aggressive approaches from Elevate.
Well, they have pivoted. You know, they've given Lycolis to smoke this time. BG Man is playing the Kaid instead with the TCSG. So they've got a decent investment into the trap play with I9 running to Capcan, and they've also got the Goyo on top of it. So there is potential for some of these doors to be a very brutal end for an attacking team that isn't paying attention. But you look at the setup from Elevate, they've got information gathering, they've got early positioning in the form of RP on that Armoru. They can get up tower control very quickly if they're looking for it. So, I mean, they've got all the markers of a decent, competent attack. But BG Man might have something to say about it.
Ooh, there we go. Beautiful trade coming through already. Both teams taking damage, but I would say actually Fury, that's a bit more detrimental to them. They've lost that smoke player.
Why? What is it with Southeast Asia and roaming smokes? Look, to be fair, he got a kill. So you can only fault him so much, but I mean, that's an operator that you were probably wanting to rely on come the, you know, execute time because of how much stall, how much denial that he does bring to the table. But no more, unfortunately.
Very uncomfortable indeed. Again, Elevate. They're going to use this time just to get the information that they need. Getting rid of those Vulcans nice and early is always the best point of call. I love that they have decided to bring the Twitch in order to do so. Oh dear, the X-Kyra is getting wasted a little bit there because indeed those electric claws are going to be firmly on that meeting hatch. Again, a freezer push is imminent.
It just felt like the most low energy play I've ever seen. He's like, yeah, it's electrified, whatever. Okay, just carry on somewhere else. Forget about it. Look, okay,
happens.
whatever. It happens. This is Siege, but the big thing though, look, there might not be the smoke in play. There are, however, 3 nitro cells. So grouping is going to be important for Elevate.
That's the thing, nitro cells are useful, but only if you are able to use them. And it looks like at the moment, Elevate are setting up to go for a little bit of aggression. That was maybe a prep C4. Has been shot out, I believe, though.
But I don't know if it was. I think... Okay, it must have been, because I know Arpe swung and went for the drone as well, but Crit J's there. Looking to clear out. The X-Kairos. Arpe takes some huge damage, but told you on the reswing. It's I9, though, who finds 3 in a row. Make that 4. My God. I talked about him. I gassed him up, and he performs. What a series of kills. Even he's a little confused as to what happened.
I love that. I love he's like, what did I just do? What happened? I guess I won my wands. And sometimes it does come down to that, you know, that collapse starts to come through. You land your shots. I mean, you know, you can have all the utility, you can have all of the setup. But if someone is just going to go on a little bit of a tear like that, they're just going to be constantly flicking, getting those headshots under their belt. Not really a lot you can do about that.
Your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Yeah, just look at this. How many was that, guys? Just you know, for you know, at the end, so the coach has the numbers. But I mean, that was a pretty severe pivot. He was playing between both Laundry and Freezer for those kills as well. And Crit J, look, Crit J, credit where credit's due. He held that for as long as he could. Unfortunately, Tolji getting his first kill after the rehost was an absolute beamer with the Type 89. But I mean, Grace, the big thing, we're one round away from tying things up once again for Fury. And you look at the track record for these teams this season. That's unfortunate. So luckily, will be a rehost. But, oh, yeah, no, will be a rehost. No, actually, it's attack. Might just make it in. Okay, there we go. Never mind. Confirmation. But you look at the track record. I'll go back to what I was saying. You look at the track record for both these teams coming into this season. A lot of people would not have even imagined this as a possibility given how Elevate started. Well, I mean, look, it's a Southeast Asian track. There we go. We're into it. Back into Dorms. Everything is ready and good to go. This time around, Grace, we are going to be looking to punch through and actually get round 10 done.
This is it. Elevate. Will they bring themselves to match point, or can Fury hold on for dear life here? Again, the aggressive angles being set up. The main thing here is to again make sure that you've got someone that is being mindful of that armory control, because it's not just the fact that someone can get into armory and then make their way to armory doorway. You don't even need to do that to be contesting that angle. There's a really nice, you know, bit of destruction you could do on that armory wall to give you that long line of sight, and people, if they realize, they will utilize it.
I mean, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, of course. You look at the attack coming in for Elevate here in the 10th round. Lion, Dockerby, and the Nook as well. So they're playing for a huge amount of information paired with an operator that denies that information as well. Well, okay, never mind. It doesn't matter. Barcode's dead. Cast a curse, baby.
I mean, it's more the fact that that was maybe a nice read coming through from Fury. You know, okay, maybe they will go and take that Nook through the basement and try and get that off angle, start to clear some of our own presence. Crit starting in the basement, it certainly benefits them there.
Like, it's a bit rough. It is losing Barcode that early. He's been having a great day of it so far. Maybe it's a case where they just took him off the shield. And, well, look, exposed that weakness. We'll see.
It's especially because, you know, Barcade has those nades, and especially for this site, sometimes you don't have to go direct. You can make some clearance, some breathing room by going underneath, right? So you go into, you know, kitchen, you send those up nades, you're at the bottom of white stairs, you send those up nades. It really allows you to create more pressure. Now, they've got one nade left on RP. Not ideal.
All I can think of is up dog.
Up dog.
That's what it makes me think of. What's up, Nate?
What's up,
but right
babe?
now, look, they're getting things done. They're establishing those line of sight. So Elevate are at least trying to claim some ground back. That nade that you were talking about connects, and Crit J falls to the ground and falls hard. R8 will follow up with the kill on the down player, but a 4 versus 4 with a minute 20 on the clock, and already those tentative gunfights, just trying to figure out where the defenses are, what openings they can expose for themselves. But Grace, again, it's limited information now. They've got 4 drones available to Elevate with a minute left to play, and unfortunately one of those players with the drones in pocket is one that you want to be fragging.
Definitely, and again, double global. Still a lot of that utility to still use. Still loads of flashes as well. There's certainly everything they need. They just need to get into our right sights right now. I think Speakeasy might be going for a rappel onto the window. We'll see what happens though. Ooh, gorgeous of that. RP taking down Dark as BG falls too. Liking this does trade it back though. The shotgun to the face. This Healthcare takes down
Oh my!
Well, and there we go. Healthcare, yet another one. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Blue Panda. They just go. It's these gunfights. They just suddenly go for the jugular.
Well, Healthcare played a bit of whack-a-mole to end the round. I mean, that was milliseconds difference. If the player had been able to get behind the shield, it might have been a different story. But no, unfortunately, Healthcare was just too on the ball. And there you go. After all the time that we took getting ourselves into this round, Grace. Elevate walk away with it, and a timeout has been called. Although, I haven't Fury already called their timeout?
I feel like they have.
I swear we've had one earlier on. We had one, I think it was around 4 or something.
I think that was maybe an Elevate timeout when they lost 2 rounds in a row against Fury.
Possibly.
Potentially. But for now, you know, Fury, it is the right time to call a timeout. Maybe, in my opinion, maybe too late. Again, it's match point at this point. It's do or die. They have to do something massive here. Granted, again, they are in that more favorable defensive side, but Elevate are just coming in, going for the jugular, grabbing them, ripping them apart, winning these gunfights. They don't, again, I thought, you know, maybe they've got loads of utility, they could go for a nice clean setup. They just, again, they went for these mechanical gunfights and they got them under their belt.
Oh dear. Well, timeout done. Elevate primed and ready on map point right now. They've been playing the cup loop, but look at that. Again, we see a minor change in the defense that could definitely make or break in the situation. I9 on the Echo with those yokai drones being able to change the flow of a gunfight, deny the plant attempt. His positioning is going to be key. Last couple of times I've seen Echo out of Asia though, he's been playing in T3 and he's been hyper aggressive. This time it looks like it's a little bit more passive.
And we prefer a passive Echo, to be honest, don't we? Again, that utility is so important for that end round. The plant denial, you really have got to have it, you know, nicely in your pocket to secure what could be a very cluttered collapse coming through from Elevate. If they then have to stick the plant and you still have that yokai, it can really benefit you. I also like, you know, it is something we've seen in other regions, but people are using that yokai a bit more flexible nowadays. You know, if you want to get some nice early round information, you can kind of send those yokais into different places to give you that extra source of camera footage.
Using it, yeah, like it's still that slightly more aggressive approach, using it as an active drone, rather, while keeping yourself safe. We'll see though. Right now, Beachy Man. But yeah, Beachy Man is starting to get those early tentative indicators that there is presence in towards the big tower. Elevate are there, ready to go. And Barcode, Talon shields are down, so there's none in the pocket. And the impact clears it out. Well, Barcode's dead again. Another opening pick, unfortunately, going the way of Fury.
Yeah, and so those shields are completely ripped from their hands as well, especially when we consider that the execute they are trying to go for, get this tower control, get rear stage open, plonk a shield down and plant behind it. They don't have that now. They're going to have to clear a lot of breathing room. We see Speaky's already trying to check out green. Again, the air jab's going out. It's going to give them a little additional bit of cover, so they do have green control. Here we see the yokais get repositioned too. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I think Fury are fully reading into the fact that, okay, they are going for a rear stage execute, but they don't really have the util potentially to do so. We have it to deny that plan. Arpe, beautiful pick there onto BG.
So once again, an opening pick goes the way of Fury, only for it to be traded back and largely nullified. The yokai drones here are going to have to be huge. The plant attempts coming through. The yokai's in position. The shockwave does connect, but it's cleaned up. Unfortunately, I9 out of drones will be fragged out as well, so Tolji will be allowed to get this plant off. The player above, Crit J, is too little too late. Unfortunately, can't deny. Luckily, Dark's down below. Dark's going huge with that MK14, but there's a player there waiting and watching. I don't even know if that was team damage. Lycolis will shut down the last player, Grace. Fury are going to hold on. We are going to get full regulation guaranteed.
Wow. I mean, again, you know, I think the pressure from Attic came in a bit too late. That's why it's so impactful. I touched on this earlier in the game. The Attic control is so important for denying that collapse. Realistically, again, the main crux point there for Elevate's attacking success when it came to execute was the fact that they had that shield utility. The fact they were able to smoke and kind of get the plant down. Granted, the yokai was attempted. I'm not sure what happened there, to be honest. It looked like it hit, but the plant wasn't disrupted. So for Elevate, they kind of were able to get the plant down. No gunfire came through. No crossfires were being held by the side of Fury. But yet, they were still able to then go for the cleanup.
I think, unfortunately, spotting the Iana close, he kind of split the difference there. So he did get the shockwave off. It was just between both of them. And I actually know. I think the Iana copped it because we switched to their POV and they were concussed. So unfortunately, body blocked maybe was what happened there in the end. But Fury, look, head down to the basement, final round of regulation. Either they lose or they push it to overtime here in this round. You can see once again the Capcan and the Goyo combo. They've also brought BG Man and that Kaid with the TCSG once again. So we've seen this before, Grace. Can they make it work this time round?
This is it, really. The pressure is on for Fury. Looks like they fully want to get stuck in already, giving the breathing room for the replica there just to get a little bit of intel, start getting those feelers out, working out, putting the prongs out, so to speak. Seeing how reactive Fury are being. The thing right now, Elevated thinking, okay, we've had no retaliation to this little bit of information gain. They're not overextending, they're not being cheeky. Well, there we go. I say they're not overextending, but we're already going to see a C4 get wasted as BG is going to try and yeet that from electrical to no prize.
I have to say that BG Man was ambitious. He just stood at the opening for like a full 2 seconds detonating that nitro cell. If Speakeasy had stood up and gone for a shot, 2 shots even, he would have been dead. Because he was not at all threatened by that nitro cell. He was safe behind the barrels, so that could have been disaster. But he's also rocking the pocket artillery here. So they might even go for the elbow reinforcement, get that off, because there is absolutely no way to deal with it from the side of Elevate. They're going to have to use the nades to try and clear that up, because no pocket EMPs have been brought. They don't have a Twitch, anything of that sort. And on top of that, they can't get E-Box right now.
They can't. That's going to prove quite difficult too. Where you need to kind of readjust your approach, but it looks like they are still maybe contesting tower here. Maybe they're thinking, okay, if we can get pillars control, if we can keep pushing blue, that's at least something. Maybe we don't need that hatch.
Oh boy.
We can just go a bit more direct. That's exactly what they're doing. Oh boy, is exactly the shout there. BG taking down healthcare though. Again, that's those nades. That's that sneaky nook taken away from the side of Elevate.
TCSG one tap returned by a Type 89. Of the same kind. My god, 2 very big kills there, but you lose the kite. Means they can't go for the late reinforcement and electrification follow-up. The stun through. Lycolis has already got the wall up. Is someone in the side already? I9, they will shut it down. Arpe to follow up with a kill on the Crit J. So 3 versus 3 with 40 on the clock. Arpe down as well. Nitro tossed deep towards that E-Box door. It's going to take Lycolis off, I think. No, I don't know what's going on. It's coming together right now for Elevate. Barco for 2. And it's down to Dark to try and clutch up. He does have the angle on that E-Box door, but Speakeasy's prone. Elevate walk away with the win after an extended map, Grace. We see the result go the way we expected it to.
The way we expected it to, but again, given a lot of the mistakes that Fury were making, I think that they still did a really good job of, you know, getting it to 7-5, to be honest, is a really good shout. A really fair score.